There's a drive way back. It might be. It could be. It is. Holy cow. Welcome to another broadcast of Bricks Behind the Ivy. Here's your host, Jeff and Sean.
Hey, Cub fans. Welcome to another episode of Bricks Behind the Ivy. I am your host, Jeff Candid Cubs Rogowskis, and with me, as always, is co-host extraordinaire, Mr. Sean Hot Stove Cubbies Chapin. Sean, how are you feeling about our Cubbies?
I'm feeling pretty good about the Cubs, but one thing that I want is our Cubs to be healthy. As soon as we get a player back, one goes down. You know, a lot of people dealing with health concerns. But having 15 players on the IL since the end of spring training is just absolutely ridiculous. I cannot think of another time where we've seen this many injuries.
Yeah, and I think it's been like just such a impressive mash unit effort of this team and council and taking the bodies he had and, you know, continuing to win ball games, especially while they've been in this tougher, longer stretch and playing some tougher opponents. And yeah, it's really kind of a testament to how they've managed the talent on this roster. Like, it's not without its flaws. I'm not saying this is a perfect roster, but yeah, it's been a while, or maybe never. Maybe not even the first game of the season, because we started with Tyone on the injured list. We have yet to have the full Cubs squad for a game this year. So that would be really nice to see at some point. But hopefully, you know, when you see these types of things, sometimes it's like they turn around in the second half and you have the health for the stretch run where, you know, last year I feel like it was almost the opposite where guys kind of broke down. So yeah, I guess that's the optimistic spin, which will tie into some of our topics for the week, at least my topic for the week. But yeah, without further ado, I think it's time for the Box Score Blitz.
Box Score Blitz. Box Score Blitz.
I feel
there we
much
go.
Better.
You needed it.
I think I needed to get in. And yeah, what an interesting week of games. So let's put some time on the non-existent fake clock. And 3, 2, 1, go. Game 1 versus the Pirates 3-game series on PNC Beautiful Ball Park. The guys got a very nasty draw. They got Jared Jones and Paul Skeens in the same weekend. Jared Jones has been absolutely ridiculous. Paul Skeens was his debut. So game 1, we got Jared Jones versus the Assman, Javier Assad. And Jones is leading the entire circuit in whiffs this year. The Cubs weathered the storm for Jones. Only had 5 Ks, but got 3 walks off of him. Cody Bellinger stayed hot in this game. He had a double and a belly boom. Start of the game, Mr. Ben Brown. What can he do for you? He piggybacked off Assad in this game. Got 12 whiffs in 3.2 innings, 6 Ks. Cubs win this game 7-2 by tacking on late. Good to see. Game 2, Paul Skeens Day for everyone who celebrates top prospect, one of the top prospects in baseball. Number 3 prospect. Oh man, what a wacky day. They were worried they weren't going to get the game in because of the weather, but Skeens' debut was salvaged as it was beautiful when he started the game. He had 7 Ks and 4 innings pitched. Already they had the highest average fastball rate for a starting pitcher in MLB, even after one start. He got 14 whiffs. The stuff played pretty well in the Major League, but the Cubs countered with Man of Steel, and guess what? His kryptonite today was the long ball. He was touched up for 6 earned runs, gave up 3 home runs to a lineup that has not been slugging of late, so that was kind of a concern. But guess what? Talk this way. The Cubs took the lead on 6 straight bases loaded walks, and even one that happened after the rain delay, which was insane. Keegan comes in and he immediately gives up the lead. The Cubs lose an absolutely wild game in which they walked 10 times, struck out 13 times, but lost 10-9. What a weird game. Throw it away, punt it. Game 3. Happy Mother's Day to all the Brickheads moms out there. Happy Mother's Day to my mom. Happy Mother's Day to your mom, Sean. James Tyone had been scratched at the beginning of the series. Will not get to play his former team. He had some back pain, so Kyle Hendricks got his rehab start from AAA, reassigned to a rehab start in the Major League team. He wasn't perfect, but he was effective. The bat tip gods were super cool in this game because they had a 331 expected batting average, 19 hard hit balls, only 6 of them ended up being hits. Morrell homered early with a 101.9 the mix. No, I'm just kidding, no free ads. 101.9 miles per hour, 397 off the bat. Happy feet. The guy is an absolute stud. This game went into extras. Kelly takes the lead. We got to see one of our first second whiz dongs of the season. Al Sly comes in, gives up a 2-run bomb to beat out the Connor Joe. Cubs win 5-4, take 2 of 3 from Pittsburgh. On to Hotlanta. I just want to make clear that I'm actually anti-chop. Not a big fan of that. I feel like we should move on. But anywho, Cubs get Ronaldo Lopez in game 1 versus Showtime in Managa. Rough lineup, but Shota did what he does best. He shoved, 5 innings pitched. He had 7 hits, 3 walks, 8 Ks. He had 18 whiffs in this game. Definitely did not have his best command, but still looked really, really good. His ERA is still below 1. Absolutely awesome. But guess what? The Cubs did absolutely nothing on offense to help him. Short story. Zach Short. Zach Short, the co-host of The Compound, drove in a run, and so did Acuna. Those are the only 2 runs in the game. Cubs lose 2-0. We're stymied by Ronaldo Lopez, an ex-White Sox. Guess what? Game 2, another ex-White Sox. Chris Sale did not cut up the jerseys. He just cut up the lineup. He faced Typhoon in this one and got really ugly quick. Sale shut the door and is extremely dominant. The Cubs reached an 18-inning scoreless streak by the end of this game. Matt Olson and Michael Harris hit bombs. Sale had 7 innings pitched, 9 Ks, only gave up 2 hits. Cubs lose 7-0. The positives, Tyson Miller, who the Cubs got in a trade, he threw 2 scoreless innings in this game. Klaus returned for 2 scoreless innings in this game as well. But this was game 1 with the Cubs, with Nico Horner sitting and Ian Happ was sitting for what I'm guessing is rest. Nico Horner was a hamstring, a late scratch, so that's kind of scary. Game 3, no Nico Horner again, a little scary, but Mastroboni is still going to add really defensively. Look at the defensive highlights from this guy.
Surprised.
Yeah, exactly. First pitch, talk about crushed. Michael Talkman leads off the game with the first pitch being sent over the fence. Cubs score 3. There was a weird situation where PCA tried to bunt in a run with the bases loaded, but got hit by the pitch, so I thought that was kind of weird. But guess what?
Yeah.
The ass man is here to save the day. 16 pitch, 4 hits, 1 walk, 7 Ks. He's got his ERA down to 149. That'd be impressive if we didn't already have Showtime Itonaga. I am pre-packing this guy's bags to Texas for the All-Star games. Cubs tacked on more later, including a say-you-later dinger. PCA got a triple. His OPS is actually up to 708, and with that plus gloves, the Cubs salvage the series, take 1 of 3, split the road trip 3-3, and that is the box score blitz.
Hooray! Hooray! Man, 3-3 on that trip is a huge win, in my opinion.
Yes, I think that winning that last game in Atlanta changes how I feel about that road trip entirely.
Yes.
Yeah, sweeping a team, any team on the road is hard. And that was such a weird game on Saturday. Very frustrating in hindsight, with all the walks, and I've never seen anything like it. Just at one point, I think it was 18 straight balls from the It was like the Pittsburgh pitching staff and bullpen literally could not throw strikes. They weren't going to use
They
all
just
their
got the yips at the same time.
It's unreal.
And I wonder, the thing that I was going to look up and I never got around to it, I wonder if a team has ever drawn 10 walks in a game and lost.
I know one team.
Yeah, well, there's one for sure now. Oh, man. But yeah, overall, I thought this was a 2-4 road trip. And to go 3-3, I'll take that.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird, and we'll get into it like towards the end of the episode. Cubs immediately go back to playing Pittsburgh at home and Atlanta, so it feels like Groundhog's Day all over again. Except the only thing we're missing is Bill Murray, but he'll probably be at a game if the weather's nice.
Yeah, he'll be there.
But yeah, it's just it was I would say a mildly successful stretch. It was nice to see Kyle Hendricks put together a start. Yeah, there was still some hard contact. There was some walks in there, some non-competitive pitches that you don't want to see, but he had some swing and miss. He had some strikeouts, including 6 whiffs on that changeup, which is what you do want to see. So maybe he's figured something out. He said that he wasn't in his mechanics the whole start, but definitely a huge improvement. A very light hitting right-handed lineup with the Pirates. They are notoriously struggling versus righties this year, and he'll get them again this weekend. And yeah, we'll hope that he'll stay healthy. And yeah, I think it's really not necessarily about Ben Brown or Hayden Wesneski's performances in the rotation, because they've been great. It's more about having Kyle Hendricks and be able to shift those guys to the bullpen is such a huge need for this team right now.
And I want Kyle to succeed just because, that makes the Cubs better. But there is a huge part of me, a very large part of me, that wants to see him succeed and do well the rest of the season, just so you can feel validated and you can tell all those naysayers to suck it.
Yeah, I don't need
Because
that bad.
you were getting beat up on your timeline on X.
Yes, I
Getting
was.
so beat up, and you're just like, I think he's going to be fine. He needs to be in the rotation, and people were just after you. So there's a little part of me, actually a large part of me, that wants to see Kyle just shove the next several starts, so you can just sit up there and look down and say, "Hey, I was right."
Yeah, I think, I don't necessarily need that validation as much as it
No, I
sounds
need
like
that validation.
it sounds delicious, but yeah, I think yeah, not to, beat a dead horse as they would say, it just really the issue is like he's a veteran, he's a good part of this team. When he's
Yes.
right, he is exactly what they need at the back end of the rotation.
Mm-hmm.
The question then becomes like if he's not right, he's not a part of this team. And that is
Yep.
a very difficult conversation to have. I don't think you're
Yeah.
trading him. I think you want him to be in a Cubs uniform.
Yeah.
Obviously I'm pro winning. I'm not saying like keep him on this roster if he's terrible, but a lot of the things I see, they're like send him to AAA or
Can't do that.
have him be in the bullpen. Like his stuff doesn't play
No.
up in the bullpen. It's not like he's going to throw like 93, like because he's only throwing one inning. It's not. That's just not what he is. And
No.
so then people are like, well, only have him throwing blowouts. All right, so you want to waste an entire bullpen slot on the roster with a guy that's only going to pitch if you're getting your butt kicked? Yeah, that's just not.
Yeah, that
No
doesn't
one's going to
happen.
do that. So the best case scenario for the Cubs is him putting together 5 to 6 innings of vintage Kyle Hendricks or as close to that as possible every 5 days so that they can diminish the amount of load on this bullpen because that still continues to be the story. And yeah, we'll see what's going forward. But yeah, we do have, 2 topics to discuss today. And if
you don't want to do my hot stove standings.
Oh my gosh, yeah, you're right.
My gosh. All right, hot stove standings. And I had fun with this one. So Ryan Braun's Syringe is 26-17 in the first. The Cubs that are healthy are 25-19 in the second. The Paul Skeens are 19-25. His mustache remains undefeated though.
That's true.
Yes, glorious.
It is. It's a great mustache.
Yeah. The Joe Morgans and the Sky is Falling Cardinals are both 18-25. Right now, the Central is a 2-team race between the Cubs and the Brewers. The rest of the Central are 7.5 or 8 games out of first. So let's just keep it that way. Let's just keep on battling, and let's see those Cubs take over the Brewers to take that first spot.
Yeah, I think it's obviously still very early in the season. Cubs took 2 or 3 from the Brewers. We'll have to see them again soon. The more of the division opponents are going to be showing up on the schedule. And I think the Cubs and the Brewers have separated themselves as the 2 teams above 500. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens there. We'll see how the season progresses. But yeah, really health and, seeing a little bit more consistency out of the rotation is really, what I'm looking for. Not that the rotation hasn't been consistent, but getting some depth from some of the back end guys or figuring out what the rotation is so that the bullpen can then be figured out and what the pieces of that bullpen are. Is it a Cade Horton coming in, and is it Ben Brown, coming into the back end of games and throwing just one inning? Is it Hayden Wesneski in a similar role as a swingman? It just feels like the Cubs and Craig Counsell have a lot of decisions on how to deploy guys that can go multiple innings and then deciding if they should go multiple innings. On Hayden Wesneski, especially, not to go on this big diatribe, like he has been stretched out to be a starter, to be an extra starter. So once some of these starters get healthy, would you send him to AAA so he can continue to be stretched out, or is the need too big in the major league team? There's just a lot of very difficult pitching questions coming.
Yeah, there is
coming very soon to this team, and then you have the deadline to address the things you don't think you can handle internally.
Yeah, I agree. I think, obviously Brown and Wisniewski is I love them both in the pen. But like you said, once folks start getting healthy, because we got Wicks that's going to be getting healthy, and Adbert once he starts getting healthy, there's going to be a lot of decisions out there, hard decisions. But I just love the fact that you can have Wisniewski or Brown piggybacking for 2 innings after a starter, because that seems just like a perfect role for them. It kind of saves the bullpen a little bit, especially if you get length out of your starter. It's a good problem to have. I mean, obviously, let's just get healthy and face that when that comes, but it's definitely a good problem to have.
Oh, absolutely. So this time, instead of barreling through Costa standings, we are going to transition into the first topic of the day. And originally, I wanted to look at some of the new baseball savants swing data. But I feel like if you are following this team, if you're following on Twitter, there are just a ton of folks that have hit that really hard. No pun intended. Actually, pun intended. I'm a pun guy. Have hit that really hard this week as the data's been new. We've got Lance Brodowski's got a video out there. It's on Twitter that I recommend you check out. There's a new article by Jordan Bastian, who's the beat reporter on MLB.com for the Cubs, that just came out a few hours ago. That's also very good. You should check that out and how it pertains to the Cubs. Brendan Miller over at CHGO, he did some visuals that are really cool in regards to the Cubs. And so I would just highly recommend, if you have any interest in it, check those places out. I'm not going to take what people have already done. But I did want to bring up something, and it's kind of stems from a conversation I had with a coworker. I've always been the Cubs guy in the office of every office I've ever worked in for obvious reasons. Look at this church of baseball I've built in my house, similar to you. But I think one thing that happens in the marathon is that people can lose sight of things during the sprint. The specific comment that I got this week was, man, the Cubs are no good. They're getting their butts kicked by the Braves. And, I try to use this as a measuring stick of, how they compare to the Braves and how things are going for them in the season. And I think there's just like a multitude of factors that make that statement challenging. And I'm not saying the Cubs are as good as the Braves, but, similar to something that Bleacher Nation has said this weekend about the Pirates, there's a very different tone when you're talking. The Cubs have 4 games versus the Pirates this weekend, versus the Cubs are seeing Jared Jones and Paul Skeens again
Yeah.
in the second time in a week's time. That's just a very different version of the Pirates team you're facing. So when you're playing these types of teams, when you're playing top end teams during the regular season, especially, like there's not a ton to take from them. The one thing that I will take away from the Atlanta series is what we already know. Like that lineup is extremely deep, extremely tough
Yeah.
to pitch to. Look at how hard Shota had to work. Yes, he didn't have like his A+ command that day, but still like 5 tough innings. Jameson Tyone, he gave in a little bit and started to get crushed. Javier Assad did a great job. Just his contact management, his pitch ability has just been so good. Cannot say enough things.
Incredible.
But the Braves are a completely different measuring stick. The Cubs are not on that level. And it really comes down to, obviously, if you make the playoffs, getting these guys and being able to attack them with a B or C plan in a shorter series and winning out. It really is just a completely different season. But I do want to take some time, instead of thinking about the negatives of some of the losses of the last week, to talk about finding the fun. What is fun about this season so far? And I wanted to kind of just pick on a few things specifically that I think that is, fun to look at, especially when things are low, because I think, I'm one of those people that the Cubs, what they do in an evening dictates my mood, or what they do in a day can dictate my mood. If the Cubs lose a frustrating game, I'm frustrated the rest of the day. If they win a good game, that's the extra energy I needed. It's
they have therapy for that.
I know, and I already do
that.
And it is Mental Health Awareness Month. I do want to plug that real quick. If you need help, it's okay not to be okay. I am an active participant in therapy myself, and I would just highly recommend reaching out. And if you ever have any questions about what therapy is like or things that I've gone through, my door is always open. Happy to talk about my experience.
Mine as well.
Back to finding the fun. I think the fun things that I want to bring up this year so far, number one, I'm going to start with this one because I feel like the second one, if I started with a different player, would just be way too obvious. Like we're just like running this in. But Shota Imanaga, like there was just a wide variety of projections of what this guy was going to be in the rotation, and a lot of them landed in like I would say like a low fours or a high threes ERA, which is respectable. And a lot of people were concerned about the home run rate. There was projections on whether or not this guy was going to be even like a fourth, fifth starter, or if he would have to shift to a bullpen. Just a lot of very weird commentary about what he was going to be. And my
Yeah.
lord, he's been so good. Shota Imanaga has become must-watch television as a Cubs fan. Every time he
Yes.
starts, that's a game you have to turn on. Like from the how he respects the umpires with Habao every time he gets a new ball,
That
like
is so
which is
cool.
something obvious shirts that had caught when he was at the game the other night, and just like how pumped he is, how much he's embraced Chicago. Like this guy is just the epitome of fun factor. He
Yep.
is, and it's insane too. Like it's not just the fun, the performance there is what's making it so fun. He's got .98 ERA, which is nuts. After 46 innings pitched, 51 Ks in that span, and he almost got 50% of his total season walks just in his start for Braves the other night. He had 3 walks and now has 8 on the season. Just has been so good with the north-south command, that splitter, and him being able to establish and get confidence in that high fastball, which I'm going to give credit to the Cubs rotation planning and letting him start at a cold Wrigley Field to start his debut, to
Yes.
really establish. Like I'm sure that is part of the plan, because like if I'm seeing it, someone else definitely saw it, and I'm not the smartest baseball man in the world. I just like to think sometimes I am. The other one that I would say is part of the fun factor is the one that's more obvious if you followed us at all, Michael Bush, my boy, my
Who?
future,
I,
my
we
future
have
husband.
this podcast has never talked about Michael Bush, I don't think.
This is a Michael Bush podcast.
Yeah.
We might as well be called Bush behind the ivy. Um, so Michael Bush, it was such an interesting, like one of those trades you like to see, like gets use some of your depth. They get a guy that's blocked by a star. He's come over here and he's been really solid. The numbers have been different of late. Obviously, like the strikeout rate is up. He's been
Mhm.
struggling with that fastball up in the zone, which was interesting early in the year. He's getting it a lot and hitting it. Now they've pushed it a little bit higher and he's not hitting it. And the walk rate has suffered, but still a very good story. That 34% strikeout rate, like I think it'll come down with a little more patience. I think that I believe in the effect of when certain guys get injured, certain players try to force like step up, and this lineup has at times been missing some of the big boppers, and that puts some pressure on some different guys, and also game plans shift for other pitching staffs as they focus on the guys that are left instead of
Mhm.
potentially, which is an argument on why you need a superstar in the lineup. Like looking at the Braves, like if you're exhausting your pitches on really really good hitters, and you're gonna leave a cookie for a guy that's a league productive bat. And this Cubs
Mhm.
lineup doesn't have a superstar. They have a lot of league productive bats, and when they've lost some of their league productive bats, I feel like that has a just a domino effect. But
Yep.
he's got a 122 weighted runs created plus, so he's 22% above average for a Major League Baseball player. And yeah, he's just been a really cool story, and really so far just a highlight of Jed's offseason. And the last one I want to bring up is PCA. Everybody loves a top prospect coming up to the majors. Maybe it's not necessarily how we imagined with Bellinger having the rib injury, but man, he has been, on a wins above replacement perspective, just a super productive player for this team in only 21 games. He's at a .64 already. A lot of that is coming from the defensive end because he covers so much ground,
He
and his
does.
bat hasn't necessarily been as as troublesome in the majors this time around as the concerns were last year. Obviously, there's been some changes, and he had that home run that I think has shifted his confidence. I feel like that you could see like the thing click that he could be successful. But yeah, currently in only 21 games, and we're about 42 games in, he's tied for the fourth highest WAR total on the team. So
Wow. I
yeah,
didn't even know that. Wow.
and Brendan Miller, another shout out to him, had put something on there about his swinging rate, his swing at strike rate has improved significantly in his time while he's been in the majors, which he said if you're showing that kind of discipline and adjustments while you're in the majors, that it would be another argument of as things get settled, like maybe maybe there is no need to send him down because he's already bringing that defensive floor that everybody knew he had, and the bat is developing. So he's currently got like a 708 OPS, as I had mentioned earlier, which, league average usually tends to be around 725, 750. So
Yeah.
he's getting to be a league average bat, and he's already an extremely plus glove. So that's just been a fun story as well. And that's all I have.
I think another fun story, just to add on to your topic, is Seiya.
Yes.
He has been just day and night different at the beginning of last year to what he is now. And I think this is the player he is. You're going to have ups and downs throughout the season, but the way he is, I haven't even looked at it, to be honest with you, but his barrel rate has to be just high. And the same thing has to do with his hard contact, because he is just scolding the ball. It seems like every time he's up to bat, and he finally got a homer. Like it seemed like every time he hit it, he's like, "This is a homer at all ballparks except for the one we're at."
No, exactly. And he had several at bats in a row where he was like 100 miles per hour plus on the contact, with like that expected batting average like 400 plus, and just like buzzard luck.
But he's been fun. He's one of my favorite players. Obviously, I saw him play at Iowa, and he gave me a wave to that. So I mean, he's been a lot of fun, and there's a lot of fun players on this Cubs team, and I like your optimistic point of view on that. That's for sure.
So just as we used our research team, which is Google, no free ads, his hard hit rate is actually up this year. First prior, he was at 41% his first season, 48 last year, and he's up to 54.1. So
nice.
And his barrel rate, just like as you said, last 2 years has been around 7.2%. Now it's at 9.8. So
there we go.
Not wrong. This guy has been hitting the ball a lot harder, and he is exactly what people at this front office projected he would be when they gave him that contract.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, I like to feel right. So thanks for validating and checking in with our research team on that.
No problem.
All right.
So, Sean, what do you got this week?
So my topic is really not a fun one, and Jeff is already aware of this, so I'm not springing anything on him, but I have made the decision to step away from Bricks Behind the Ivy. Has nothing to do with Jeff or how the podcast is doing, which is great, by the way. Keep on listening, keep on watching, keep on subscribing. It's just sometimes life happens and hard decisions have to be made, and that's what had to be made a few days ago. I wanted to do one last episode and give all our listeners, a reason why I'm not going to be on some of the episodes going forward. I'm always going to be a big supporter of Jeff and the BBTI brand. I'm never going to close the door on returning, and there could be sporadic opportunities, Jeff, like you and I discussed, on me returning as a guest or even returning in a full-time role, especially as we near the trade deadline. I want to give you exclusives on what I'm hearing and things like that. And so that's my topic. But before we move on to other things, Jeff, I want to thank you. It's been an awesome experience. I feel like it's fate that we met. You're the one of the most genuine and honest people that I have ever met. I want to thank the BBTI family, Pat, Wrigleyville Sports, our listeners, our supporters, all of you. You've all been amazing. And just thank you from the bottom of my heart. And seriously, keep on supporting and listening and watching Bricks Behind the Ivy, because I have a lot of faith in this. And if life hadn't gotten in the way, I got a feeling I'd be still doing this going forward. But who knows? I might make a comeback someday. But as of right now, I'm just going to take a step away.
Yeah, I know we talked about this earlier this week, and it was process the news the way that one can process bad news. But it's been crazy to go from interviewing you as part of my Fan of the Week series for Northside Baseball, and turning this into random conversations over Twitter, to exchanging of numbers, to a podcast. And it just feels like it was just yesterday where like I feel like we were in nervous planning mode, and then one day we're just like, let's record today so we can stop being nervous. And
Yeah, right.
now we're approaching like 1,200 downloads, and we're 16, 17, 18 episodes, 16 actual, 2 bonus episodes into this thing, and it's been a fun ride so far, and we've continued to see growth. And I respect the living bejesus out of you and making an extremely tough decision, and putting some situations in front of what has been a fun hobby. And absolutely, the door is wide open for a return, and Bricks Behind the Ivy will truck on, but we will have heavy hearts for the foreseeable future, as I will have to learn to talk to myself, with myself, by myself for a short time.
Just do a split screen with yourself. There you go.
Yeah, but that's an argument I'll never win.
Yeah.
But with that being said, we do have a new segment today, and we have gotten in contact with the late, great Harry Caray. And he has some opinions about what's going on with the Cubs bullpen, especially with Adbert Alzolay, in a new segment we're calling Deep Thoughts with Harry Caray. Enjoy.
Holy cow! Hey, hello again, everybody. This is Harry Caray coming at you live from the Wrigley Fire Bar and Grill for the boys, Jeff and Sean from Bricks Behind the Ivy. And this week we're going to talk to you about the old bullpen. Boy, oh boy, it's going to make me have a sip of the lovely, oh boy, that's good. This bullpen does make me want to drink some of the old barley. Oh, I don't know about you out there, Cub fan, but that kind of makes me shake, boy. Ooh, my, oh my. But I want to talk to you especially about Adbert Alzolay. Spelled backwards is Trebeda Yola Zala. Oh boy. Hey Steve, put out the cigar. Anyway, I don't know what's going on with this poor kid. He was lights out last year. I had Steve and the boys write me up some stats because, I can't remember a lot because of the old barley and half. But this kid was lights out last year. He was 2-5 with the 2.67 ERA, 22 saves at a whip of 1.02. I mean, this guy was more reliable than me getting an Uber down on Rush Street late night with Vanaken. But boy, oh boy, this year, I don't know what's going on with him, Maybe he's got the hibbity-jibbity. Maybe he's got the shakes. I don't know. Something's getting in his head. Something with a little bit of confidence. I don't know. Needs a little bit of booster. Though, lately, he's been kind of turning it on a little bit. We just have to hope that, good Lord willing, he's going to turn it around. Luckily, we got Hector Neris. Boy, that guy gives you a heart attack every once in a while. I got to kind of do one of these. Oh, I thought Steve had to fire up the AED in the booth the other day. But it's going to be all right. The bullpen's going to turn it around. We got a big stretch coming. So all I got to say is that's going to do it from here. Come on, Alzolay, you got this one. So for all of us, back to the boys at Bricks Behind the Ivy, here's to you. So long, everybody.
Well, it's always a privilege to get a Cubs legend on your podcast, and
that's so great.
Absolutely amazing seeing Harry in his element talking about the Cubs. There'll be more deep thoughts with Harry as time goes on, but I really enjoyed that. And thank you so much to our new sponsor, the Wrigley Fire Bar and Grill, which will be featured very, very soon on Marquee, in an episode in which features the bar and the owner of the bar, the great Pat Erickson, and all of the different Cubs stuff he has that has created his man cave. There's an article, if you want to get a preview of it, on Northside Baseball that I wrote this past fall, in which I met Pat at that time. But he's agreed to come on as a sponsor of this segment, and he's the one who gets us access to Harry Caray. So thank you so much, Pat. And without leaving out one of our other favorite sponsors, Reviewville Sports. Oh man, what can we not? What's a bad thing you can say about Reviewville Sports? Nothing. They
Nothing.
are awesome. They have so much Cub stuff, and for someone who doesn't have enough Cub stuff ever, I am constantly on this website looking for new Cub things, looking for new Cubs jerseys, looking for literally anything that I can fill this room with, which, much to my wife's chagrin, happens more often than it should. But guess what? They are an affiliate with us, and they have provided us with a special discount code. If you use the link that is in the description of this episode or all episodes, and the code BRICKS10, you can help support this podcast. And as a thank you, that code gives you a 10% off of your cart. That's right, 10% off. 10, like the great Ronnie Santo percent, which is sometimes the amount of something off, which means it's gone. So use the coupon code today. Help support Bricks Behind the Ivy, and yeah, get some good Cub stuff. Or like we've said in other episodes, like the Bears schedule is out. This is not a Bears pod, but we are Bears fans because they are the papas of the Cubs, and the Bears have a new quarterback. Get your hands on one of those Caleb Williams jerseys. It's probably going to be a very hot selling item. Probably is going to end up being one of the top selling jerseys this year in the NFL.
Yep.
Get one of those. Get 10% off of that order from Wrigleyville Sports. So thank you, Wrigleyville Sports, for continuing to be a sponsor. And one last announcement today. We are opening a Bricks Behind the Ivy swag store. Swag.
Swag store.
Yes, it is the swag store. Fly the W ag. Swag. We have just a few number of items, including stickers, polo shirts, sweatshirts, and t-shirts of Bricks Behind the Ivy. So if you want to show your true brickhead status, hop on there today. Check out this merch. It's awesome. I'm so excited. I should be getting samples of it soon to wear myself on the pod and to share stickers with all of you when I go to Cub games. So I'm very excited about it. There'll be a link in the description of this pod to the official Etsy swag store. All right, so we have come to our last segment of today's episode, the series preview, which is going to be a little bit stunted this week because it is the same two teams.
We're playing the same teams. Exactly. It's Groundhog Day.
The only difference is it's some home cooking time, and the Cubs have an extremely good record at home. They've served course at home, and hoping they can do so this time and split the season series with the Braves. What a weird schedule quirk to have.
Yeah.
All of your games in a short time span versus same two teams.
Yep.
So I'll talk about the Pirates really quick. And like we insinuated earlier, Cubs are getting Skeens and Jones again, and that is not ideal when you're going into a home series versus a team that is struggling. You don't want to see their top end pitching, but the Cubs did pretty good with Jones last time. They have him at the time you're listening to this podcast yesterday, so you'll know the results. Like, what's the future like? Did I win the lottery? Yeah. But they have Jones this evening, very, very shortly, and then they have Skeens right after that. The rest of the rotation, it's not necessarily, we've been more hesitant to talk about, but I do know, looking at this weekend series, the rotation has been kind of clarified, at least in what roles are going to be, because the Cubs did announce the rotation for this series. Tonight's going to be Justin Steele. Friday is Kyle Hendricks, Showtime Imanaga on Saturday, and then Sunday, Jamison Tyone. So it seems like, Assad obviously will be that Monday game versus the Braves, and then we'll kind of go back over in that rotation. So for the meantime, it seems like Ben Brown and Hayden Wesneski have been bumped from the rotation and are going to be bullpen guys, which, I mean, I guess Kyle Hendricks has definitely earned another start in his first another right-handed hitting team, the same team as last time that's not hitting him well. So it'll be interesting to see if they see him a little bit better this time, having seen him recently, or if he's able to continue to build some success like he did in his last rotation. Kyle Hendricks has always been very, very good at Wrigley Field. So hoping for the sake of this rotation and figuring out roles in the bullpen, he has a good start.
And I'm not even going to try to do probable pitchers for the Braves because I'm always wrong in trying to put that out there. But one thing to note that, as you said, home cooking. I mean, the Cubs are 13-6 at home. They do really well there. You know, the friendly confines are the friendly confines for a reason. One saving grace, you know, is that the Braves are not as good away from their home ballpark. I mean, I think they're sitting at 11-9 away from the home ballpark. So maybe we can take 2 of 3, return the favor of what they did to us, and just really come out hitting on all cylinders. One of the things that I'm really interested in seeing is how that wind is going to be. You know, this time of year, it can be blowing in 20 miles an hour, or it can be blowing out 20 miles an hour. I mean, it's going to be something, you know, weather's going to definitely make a factor, especially with a lot of those big boppers on the Braves. So just really looking forward to returning that favor and taking 2 of 3 from the Braves. I'd settle for a sweep too. I mean, I'm fine with that too. But yeah, it's going to be another huge test. Obviously, players are still trying to come back. The fact that we're winning ball games with Miles Mastrobuoni and Nick Madrigal as our shortstop and second baseman, it's just insane to me. That is just crazy.
Yeah,
but,
I agree.
Yeah,
it's tough. Like, and this is a discussion for a different pod potentially, but yeah, I think we're running out of reasons why Nick Madrigal should be on this roster. And I think there's some hesitancy in theory, given what was in theory given up to acquire these guys. And that wasn't obviously the Cease trade, but you know, that ended up not being a great trade for the White Sox as well when we got Cody Hoyer and Nick Madrigal. But, you know, I believe at the end of the day, he's just not hitting enough, and he's not providing enough of a difference on the defensive side. He's a decent defensive player. He's not grading out as well this year. Smaller sample, obviously, these things can level out as the season goes on, but I just don't want to see a late defensive replacement of Christopher Morel with Nick Madrigal, because I feel like there's been way too many games in which like Nick Madrigal gets in that bat because maybe the game's stabilized, and it's in a situation that he's not producing. And yeah, if you're looking especially defensively in the last few days, what Miles Mastrobuoni has done at shortstop and what he can do at second base, he can play third. And then you look at Patrick Wisdom, who can play third and spell first and DH. And if you're going to keep PCA up, it's just getting tougher to argue he should get at bats more beyond the team. So especially
when you have players down in AAA that look like that contribute to, and like you said, they can't get too deep into this, but players down at AAA that could contribute to this, to the parent club. I mean, Luis Vasquez has been hitting the crap out of the ball. He can play all 3 infield positions. Brendan Davis has been on a tear. Let's take advantage of that. Still like Alexander Canario, the power in that bat. Obviously Owen Casey, but he would have to, that's a whole nother 40-man roster problem. But like, you're right though. It's getting to the point that his value on the team is less than the value of him taking that roster spot.
Correct. And it's a tough conversation.
Yep.
Is Nicky Two Strikes finally going to see the third strike from this organization? Find out next week on Bricks Behind the Ivy. But once again, thank you for joining us for another episode of Bricks Behind the Ivy. I want to take one last time to say thank you to Sean for everything he's brought to the podcast, everything that he has done for me and has talked to me, and just very sad. And yeah, I just before my allergies act up on this podcast.
It's been a pleasure.
I'm very thankful for you. But this is a Cubs podcast for Cubs fans by Cubs fans. check us out on socials. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, and for the Harry Caray thing, I really suggest you go on YouTube and take a gander at that. But we'll see you guys next week on another episode of BBTI. See you next week, Brickheads.
Bye.
Well, that's going to do it from here, from Bricks Behind the Ivy. This is Harry Caray. We know you've enjoyed the broadcast and the outcome. Be sure to share, like, and subscribe to this wonderful broadcast that they've done and the podcast going forward. Be sure to also check us out on YouTube and Instagram and, whatever else is out there on the airwave. And we want to thank Jeff and Sean for putting this all together and keeping us all Cub fan entertained with their knowledge. You know, I also love to always say that Jeff's last name spelled backward is Sikasugar. And Sean's is Nipak. Boy, oh boy, it never gets old. Well, that's going to do it from here. So from all of us here at Bricks Behind the Ivy, this is Harry Caray saying, go Cub, holy cow, and so long, everybody.